In this video, I'm going to show you how to use several of Inventor's important tools: Workplanes, Project Geometry, and Slice Graphics. Before I start my drawing, I'm going to pick on the Tools tab and then pick on Application Options, and I'm going to pick on the Part tab here. And your drawing at this point may say no new sketch, but what I want to do is sketch on the XY plane. And at that point I can come down here and select OK. Now what happens when I go over here and I select on the New File button and I select my standard IPT and pick Create, it will open up on the XY plane. Now I'm going to go over and expand on the origin so I can see the XZ or the YZ and the XZ planes as well, and I'm going to put this into my home view, so we'll see kind of a southeast isometric view of this. Alright, so I'm going to show you how to use Project Geometry to project some geometry onto these planes that will make life a little bit easier for you. If you pick on the Project Geometry button right up here, and then you go pick YZ plane, and then go ahead and pick XZ plane, what you'll see is that those two planes have been projected onto my axes, and so this point right here where they come together is the origin point. So I'm going to draw a rectangle right up in this area, and then I'm going to use the collinear constraint. This is the collinear constraint. I'm going to pick on this, and I'm going to select this line, and I'm going to pick one of those lines on the y-axis that I projected to my origin. I'm going to pick the horizontal line and then project the axis on the horizontal axis, and you can see that what it did is it aligned my rectangle to my origin point, and it also constrained it to the X and Y axis. I'm going to finish the sketch, select Extrude, and you can see that it's showing me an extrusion. It's defaulting to 1 inch. What I'm going to do, I'm going to change this to 0.5. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to use a different solution on this. This solution right here is called symmetric. And what that does is it takes the plane that the original rectangle is sketched on, and it extrudes to either side of that plane, and it will take my 0.5 and it will put half a 0.5 on this side and half on this side. So there's 0.25 on each side. I'm going to select the check button for OK, and there it is. It builds my first object. Now what I can do is right through the center of this part is my XY plane, because I was drawing on the XY plane. So I'm going to go over here into the tree and select visibility, and so there is my XY plane right there, located halfway through the center of the part. Next I'm going to create an offset work plane. So I'm going to go over here to the work plane tool, pick on the down arrow, and pick offset from plane. I'm going to select the front edge of my part, and I'm going to hold my mouse down and drag out in this direction, and to get an exact amount I'm going to go 1.5. So you can see I've created a work plane in front of my original object. I'll move this just a little bit. I'm going to pick on the work plane and then select the Create Sketch button. So now I'm sketching on this plane, and if I wanted to relate anything on this sketch to geometry that I have in the background, that's very difficult to do because they're unrelated at this point. So what I want to do to get them related to each other is to use Project Geometry again. So I'm going to pick Project Geometry, and I can come over here and I can pick this edge, and you can see a line appears here. I'm going to pick the top edge. You can see a line there. I'll pick over here and pick here. And so now I have these green lines all the way around. If I finish the sketch, those lines that I projected from the geometry in the background here can actually be extruded now if I want to do that. So I can do a symmetrical and pick OK. And so here I've created some geometry without actually starting a new drawing. I just started a new sketch, projected the geometry from the background. And what this does is, by allowing you to project geometry from the background to a new sketch plane, you can align items that you draw on the new sketch plane with things in the background, which is something you do pretty frequently when you're doing inventor drawings. Alright, so now what I want to show you is about slice graphics. Let's say that I needed to make a sketch on this plane here. I'm going to pick on that, pick on create sketch. So my sketch plane is actually on this plane. You can see where my axes moved. The problem is I have this part of the object between me and the sketch plane. So right down here at the bottom of your screen you have an icon for slice graphics. If I pick on that, what happens is it slices away anything that's between me and the sketch plane, and now I can come in here. I'll do a rectangle on here, and then I'm going to finish my sketch. So you can see there's my sketch was actually on this work plane, which is halfway through the part, and I can do an extrude and pick a different solution and pick OK, and there I have it. It's created that part, or that part of our model, from that geometry that was located in the middle of this object here. So these are important things to understand, is work planes and how to slice graphics. Now you can only slice graphics, you won't see the tool unless you're in a sketch. And projecting geometry, of course, is also an important thing, and that only occurs when you're in a sketch.